celebrities you may or may not have known were in horror movies.
Jennifer Aniston, Leprechaun.
Wow, that's my first one.
Talking to the spirits, man.
Studies this list.
I think he does. Here we go. There it is. There's a picture of her. I even have demonstrational pictures to put in Discord, too.
Demonstrational.
Next one on the list is Octavia Spencer.
Are you supposed to tell us?
She's in Mama.
Yep, and she was also in Halloween 2 back in 2009. Here we go.
She was also in The Help and a couple of others.
Who was she in Mama?
Good Figures. And in Mama, she plays this kind of
psychotic, yeah,
woman that gives these kids liquor, let them party in her basement. Crazy.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I thought Mama was like where the creepy woodland entity was taking care of the children by themselves for a long time.
Yeah, that's the other one.
Now, also from the Halloween series, we have Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. We get the fabulously brushed up there superhero, Paul Rudd.
Yeah, Paul Rudd hasn't aged a bit.
He looks weird. Look at that picture. That was in 1995.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got his whole future ahead of him.
So this one's funny. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Remember they came out with it in The Next Generation in 1997. This was Renee Zellweger. Don't really notice her, do you?
No.
No.
Do you know who else played that movie too? You may or may not recognize. Here we go. Bam. That's the weirdest picture of him.
Yeah.
McConaughey.
Did you guys...
All right.
Who was a Dawson Creek fan back in the day?
Not me.
Well, you know of Dawson's Creek. I don't think anyone was a real big fan, but they had to watch it every once in a blue moon. Like if it was on as they're flipping through the channel. I don't know. But here's your very own Dawson's Creek's Michelle Williams. When she was like 1995, so she'd been what, 12? I don't know.
Wait, she was married to Heath Ledger, right?
I think.
No shit.
Here's another person from Avengers from Prom Night 2008. I didn't even know they had a Prom Night movie. I don't think I want to watch it. What is his name? Idris Elba?
That's the dude from The Wire. What is it again?
It's the Prom Night. I didn't know they made a Prom Night. I thought Carrie was like the Prom Night movie, right? Back in the 70s.
What'd you say his name was, though?
Idris Elba. Yeah.
Yeah, Idris Elba. Yeah.
I'm bad with names.
Let's speak it out.
So here's one. 1980. Friday the 13th. How well do you guys know this movie?
Okay, I'm going to go
Corey
with
Feldman.
Damn it, you beat me to it. I was going to say Feldman.
Look at that face.
Oh. Good old bacon.
I was a huge Nightmare on Elm Street fan back when I was a kid, and it was the ones from the late 80s, the Dream Warriors. You remember that one?
No.
Okay, this is really bad. I'm like really bad. Everyone's like, even Dr. Lynch is like, no. Patricia Arquette.
These movies is though, you can get all of them in the $5 Walmart bin. If anybody wants to watch The Entity and they don't know where to go to a $5 Walmart DVD bin.
It's on Stars right now for free.
Huh. Is it really? Well, you have to pay for Stars.
You have to pay for Stars, yeah. Here we go. Adam Scott, Hellraiser, 1996.
Bloodline.
Now, you know, like in all horror movies, they have to have some kind of teen thing. Because for some reason, spring and Halloween all has teenager crap in it when you watch TV. So this is Return to Horror High, 1987. If y'all can just take a look at this person and tell me who you think he is.
Oh, George Clooney.
Everyone gets their starts in all these movies. Like in the movie 1982's Parasite. Didn't Parasite come out again, but Korean style?
Korean style, like a little barbecue setup,
Like Gangnam Style?
was Gangnam there?
No,
It's
why?
like,
It's taking forever to load, isn't it?
It's loading.
This next one coming up is really weird. Psycho Beach Party. You ever heard of that?
No.
No one has.
Is it from the 60s?
It looks very much like from the 60s. I'm not kidding you. It is just weird. So here it is. I'll put it in there and see if it posts as fast as the other ones or not. There we go.
Yep.
That's your Amy Adams from Psycho Beach Party 2000. But look, even the picture looks like it's an old 60s, 70s movie, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did my Demi Moore one come up?
No, it's still not loading. It doesn't want to load.
What was Demi Moore in?
She was in Parasite.
Ghost.
A night,
Oh.
yeah, Ghost. Oh my love. Yeah, it's called Parasite. I never seen it, so I don't know. There was a movie called The Stuff. Do you guys remember that from the 80s? It was like this creepy little like jelly stuff that would like touch you and you just get all nassed up by it and everything.
No.
But here's
Blob?
Dr. McDreamy right here. Patrick Dempsey.
Ooh,
This is
two
a lot
ER
of stuff.
stars.
Hmm?
2 ER stars.
Oh.
Wait, was he in ER or was that a different
Not
doctor
a
show?
clue.
He was in.
Oh, he's in Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
2 medical shows.
We got
Johnny
Nightmare on
Depp.
Elm
Is that
Street.
Friday the 13th? Or
Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984.
Freddy's about to claw him straight up through his chest in that scene. He's hiding in the bed.
Yeah. I always wanted headphones like that.
You can get them real cheap now.
Hmm.
No, you can't. Those are probably.
Did you know back in the day, Charlize Theron played in Children of the Corn? But it was Children of the Corn 3, The Urban Harvest,
Oh, man.
When did that come out?
1995.
Oh.
Anybody try
Well,
to watch that?
Yeah, 2 years later, she went on to do Devil's Advocate.
Try to watch the original now.
great movie.
It's awful. It's so
Yeah.
dated.
I think we lost Dr. Lynch. He's like, I'm done with it.
You're right. Wow, this is fascinating.
Naomi Watts in Children of the Corn 4, The Gathering, which was after Charlize Theron's Children of the Corn.
So they made 4 of them. Are they still going?
But I always confused Naomi Watts with that Jewel, the singer.
Watch for he who walks amongst the rows.
Yeah.
It's
Who
the day
liked-
of the rope?
Malachi! Did anybody ever see the Halloweens? Right? We all love Halloween, right?
Yes.
Right.
Halloween H2O. Did you watch that one?
Yes.
I went to the movies to see that.
You remember who was in it?
Josh Hartnett, LL Cool J.
And Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
I didn't know you. Wow.
So young.
I remember he was on Third Rock from the Sun.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Great show.
That's that era. He's there.
Did anybody like Critters? Remember that movie? Critters?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, here's a familiar face. There you go.
Shit. Academy Award winning.
Mm-hmm. Straight from Growing Pains to Critters 3, 1991.
Damn.
Now, here's one thing I really like. Did you?
We don't speak his name.
We don't speak. He who walks amongst the. Oh. I was always a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the original movie, not the series. So Hilary Swank. Yep, 1992. Now, for bonus points.
3 episodes ago.
Hmm?
Nothing. I said we couldn't remember her name 3 episodes ago.
Oh, was that?
Yeah, it was Cody Swank on Karate Kid.
For other points, who's this who played in Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Pacino?
That's Pee Wee Herman.
No.
Hand of
Oh
God.
yeah, he was in the movie. Not the show.
That's what I meant. Not the TV show, the movie.
Paul Rubens?
Yep. And he had the best death scene ever. So they stab him and he takes forever to die. And he keeps like, ah!
Oh, yeah.
Ah! He's like kicking the door and everything. Ah! It was the greatest ending for a vampire. I loved it.
That's pretty good.
Here we go. Team, Dream, Steam. Thor himself played in a Halloween movie. There you go.
Yeah.
The Cabin in the Woods.
Like Tremors 5.
Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Anybody seen Eight-Legged Freaks?
Yeah.
Okay, here's my question about Cabin in the Woods. I liked it until the ending. Am I the only one?
Didn't see it.
This is the one where it goes like underground, right?
Yeah, like the guys are
Like
all
it's
working
like
the booth and everything of what to do.
Yeah. That's why I liked it.
Yeah, I did too. But at the end,
Unconventional.
I was like, I know, that's why. No.
No, it's neat. And then all the other monsters are coming out, and they have a little booth, and then they come down and start kicking ass. I liked it. Yeah, it's different.
So another
That's why
Avenger.
I like 13 Ghosts.
I love 13th Ghost. It's a great.
Yeah,
movie.
unconventional again. Pretty good. Matthew Lillard. Funny.
Scarlett Johansson, another Avenger in Eight-Legged Freaks. She looks so young, doesn't she?
Who's the male role in that? What's his name?
Oh, Jeremy Renner.
No.
In Eight-Legged Freaks, it should be Arquette.
Oh,
David Arquette.
Yeah, David Arquette. Yeah, I was gonna say Dewey from Scream, but yeah, David Arquette. Couldn't think of David Arquette.
I remembered this, so I was just like, okay, but I'll put it up here anyway. One of my favorite Halloween movies, The Faculty. Jon Stewart himself. Whatever happened to him?
he retired.
He lost his mind.
Developed a skin condition.
Big political guy now. Who? Wait, who are we talking about? Jon Stewart?
Jon Stewart. Yeah.
He's like a big political advocate for 9/11 victims and stuff.
That's good. No, yeah, I remember he did that thing that was big, yeah. He helped do that to where they made it to where it was completely, there's no time limit on it.
You watch the last couple of years of The Daily Show, and it looks like he's slowly losing his mind. Like his hair goes really gray and everything, and then he retired. I'm telling you, he had some sort of breakdown, I think, but I don't know.
Well, he developed a really bad skin condition. So if you see him up close, he's got like this, I don't know if it's like psoriasis or something like that, but it's all over his face and down his shoulders. So he developed it late. Anyway,
He seemed
that's
pretty
the one thing.
stressed out. It makes sense.
Yeah.
So these are your celebrities you may or may not have known were in horror movies.
I put a spell on you. And now you're mine.
While we were recording the interview with Dr. Michael Lynch, while we got into the juicy, creepy stuff, everything shut down. Internet, computer, everything turned off. It was creepy. Dr. Michael Lynch FaceTimes me in the dark, and he's showing me around his office, and he's showing me stuff he invented and all this other stuff, and we're talking whatever while everything boots up. Now, once everything boots up, we start recording again. Now, here's the thing. You're going to hear a lot of choppiness sporadically throughout the interview. While we were recording, everything was fine. The levels looked fine, everything was fine in the headphones, but when I finally started editing, that's when I noticed it. So, have fun with that. God, it's just creepy how, right when I was talking about the white light and everything just shut down. It's kind of creepy.
It is 24/7. You've got to watch yourself.
When it comes to ghosts, ghouls, and goblins, it's fun for the entertainment of it. I respect it, so I don't want to mess with it. But when it comes to the Indian stuff, I mean, that's really deep-seated root. I really kind of try not to deal with that because I don't want nothing like that. That's like pretty bad, in my opinion.
Yeah, I took a psychic over to Cahokia Mounds because Cahokia is a city of the dead. They actually buried the people in large mounds inside the city walls. So I took a psychic over there, and she said they just are there. They're there. They're still there, and they just look at us like we are weird or something, and it's just amazing. So she sees them and talks to them, just like she sees and talks to me.
I've never met anyone like that. I've met a couple. That's what I was asking about Vicky earlier when we first talked, because there's parts where she's really like the coolest thing, and I'm trying to listen more. And then there's parts where you can see the showman side of it. You know, you guys have to do some stuff for the show.
Vicky is the consummate female, and she wants to tell a story. When she gets inside of someone's head, like an entity, you get to the realization that she has to explain it. And that is what 20 years of clinical paranormal investigations is all about, is where you don't want to give out the evidence in a, hey, I got a story for you form. What you want to do is give out the evidence in a factual, so it builds up, so the evidence builds up to a factual statement of saying Farmer Brown died by a plow accident. He was buried. He's still on the farm. He's now endangering the people who are living there. This was 100 and some odd years ago. Best guess scenario. Can we talk to Farmer Brown? And that's kind of the idea. But she wants to sit down and say, okay, let me tell you how this kind of goes. And so when you pull her into the studio, she has to do a 3-minute setup. Well, Dave Glover is ADHD, so 3 minutes is forever with him. And she doesn't want to be interrupted. That's not necessary for this investigation, Vicky. That's necessary if we have 2 days to go over the evidence, and you can explain it that way. But a lot of times we get back at each other because I just want to not wrap it up. I just want the facts. The facts will lead me to the conclusion. And the conclusion's normally tragedy or despair. And that is normally the venue for a lot of hauntings or haunted areas.
We were talking earlier about the undisclosed house in North County. You know, before everything shut down, I was talking about the white light and everything. And yeah, tragedy was all through that house. But that soul keeper or soul gripper guy, do you think he just kind of like felt it miles and miles away and said, I'm heading over there to take over? Or?
Oh, no. The lady who was the soul collector, she was the major entity we were having to deal with. She was in total control of the other entity. Her idea was she had lived there 100 years before it was a subdivision, and they put in series of track houses. So these track houses are almost identical, except the garages they face the other way or whatever. But they're identical. Everyone has a basement. Everyone has the same square footage. And they built these things like there was no tomorrow, not realizing that the original owner of that land was still haunting that land. The original owner is a very religious woman who says that all these children in this neighborhood, which is now in my land, they all have got to know God. She convinces the children in that area, living and dead, that the only way to be saved is to go through the rites of catechism and baptism. So the scenario was, is this woman, how do we, and then at the end, Dave Glover wanted to get out as soon as possible. He wanted to disappear. So it was like the ghost of Mr. Chicken. Mr. Chicken wanted to get out of there. We couldn't shut the house down. We couldn't even logically deal with this soul collector.
Do you see anything that...
Okay, I don't...
Something attracts you or repels you?
It's just...
No.
This house has to be cleared before we leave.
No,
I have to do it.
That's our major intent, Vicky, on this one, is just to clear it.
Leave. I have to do it.
Just to clear it.
Yeah,
just
she wouldn't wait around, man.
Come down here where I am.
Yep.
And let me do to you what I did to
And don't
that
clear
other guy.
this house.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Now, that was caught on a microphone that Jim Modulin had in his hand.
Yes.
So that lady had to be right there in front of that microphone.
We were all
right
together.
with
We
Vicky.
were all in
we were all
huddle.
right there. Yeah, we were all right there.
And so the soul collector is there. Is still there. The entities that she's collecting are still in that house. And no matter how many times it was a rental house, I think every 3 or 4 months it changed. And the people that were there last left, and half the furniture was still there. They left. They just grabbed whatever they could and disappeared.
When you guys first walked down to the basement and Tom went upstairs because he got cut.
Oh my God.
Okay, I'm going up.
Wait, yeah.
I'm going.
Holy cow.
Did you feel it when it happened?
It's well, but not like I'm getting scraped, but just touched, and I'm sweaty, and it's.
You hear that really weird, growly, wibble thing after it hit something.
In any certain place in the house?
I'm trying.
I think you guys had said it was like above you, but it was loud. I mean, you could hear it.
Yeah, we thought it was people upstairs, but then we realized it wasn't. It was actually in the floor space, the ceiling floor space above us. We did not hear the growly thing. That was only recorded on the tech that we had. Because of the previous investigations, Jim came with pretty low tech. He caught that, and it was a growl. It was like a dog, but maybe bigger and ferocious. Yeah. So there again, okay, you have a very discerning location, a very discerning house. It looked like everybody else's house, blah. And then you get in there and all hell breaks loose. And then you sit back and go, this is what you get when you rush an investigation. Someone's going to get hurt. Tom should have went to the hospital. I don't think he ever did. But I watched his progress, and within 3 to 4 weeks later, those wounds were still healing and then finally healed away. So is this like, when Ed and Lorraine would go out and demons? Maybe. But in our game, anyone or anything can become a demon. It's their point of view and their available power of expression. So if you get to a certain point, we say that these entities are predatory or territorial. They're territorial, they're not going to go away. They're going to fight you for that space. If they're predatory, they're going to follow you around and they're going to mess with your life. And they get attached to you. Predatory spiritual entity attachments. And a lot of times people just can't break those. And then they become problematic later on. But
like the entity, that's an example of that.
Yeah, that's a pure example. And there were 2 guys that came out of the entity and went on to do something with that case. And that case was an entity. Now, I had a case like this. In that case, the entity case, it was the husband had died and was going back and having sex with, virtually raping her. And he was a ghost. She was a human.
It's just like when I first got, I was a kid when the entity, we watched all that, and you think it's Hollywood. You don't think that potential amount of energy can be really used, because all the ghost stuff you see is like turn on a flashlight, maybe do scratches, but not like slam you against the wall and have your way with it.
It's how you can manipulate energy. Okay, think of it like this. There's a gentle breeze on your face, and you go, oh, that's so refreshing. But when that gentle breeze gets up to 120 miles an hour, it's going to push you around. And that's exactly the same type of idea. The more power that is under control, the more it can do. So many entities are totally benign.
The McPike Mansion kind of brings to mind when you're talking about this, of them being there. So you guys said McPike was just a huge presence in that room. Like he was the size of the room.
Oh, yeah. Paul Laffinger was the last real owner of Pike Mansion. He was a consummate smoker. He died of emphysema. And he swore virtually on his deathbed that he never relinquished the McPike Mansion. Well, down in the basement of the McPike Mansion, there is a wine cellar built exclusively with wines. Solid walls, it's an arched area. We first went into the house. We crazy stories from the Stephen C. show about all their tales had while they were in the McPike Mansion. Well, we wrote most.
Didn't they do like a sleepover there or something?
That is correct. They did a sleepover. Well, the weird part about that is that everything could be written off as raccoons, bats, or squirrels. So there was no real evidence there. So I talked to Sharon Ludke, who owns the McPike Mansion, And we got a chance to stay overnight ourselves, and we did find some anomalous energies in the building. Now, that was the first time we went over. Second time we went over there, I said, well, none of this makes any sense. Why is it every time we go over there, we're not finding the energy output that everyone else is talking about? Equipment failures, this, that, and the other, voices, people being touched or pushed. So I go over there with a psychic. We go over there about 3 or 4 times. One time with psychic, one time with Channel 11, things like that. And
oh, wow, you went with Channel 11?
Yeah, Patrick Clark and I was over there, and we did a McPike Mansion thing, and they caught stuff on their own camera, their own news camera. Anyway, we're down in the basement, and we get to the wine cellar, and I go, okay, see if Paul's here, and we step in, and man, it's just pure fog. Well, on a previous investigation, it was just pure fog. I mean, it was just a fog down there. Mm-hmm. And there was no rhyme or reason for it. I mean, we walked around, and as soon as I walked around, I told my crew to get out of there, go outside. I want to talk to you guys. So we go outside, and I said, that fog is the ghost. And they looked at me like I was from the moon. I said, that ghost is that fog. Now, a couple of weeks later, one of my team members videotaped it, and now he swears down that it's correct. My assessment was that room, that wine cellar, was 20 feet long, 14 feet wide, and that entity was their size.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a trip because we went to school with Lead Keys as a kid, and we went there. We were there during the Stephen C. tape, and we actually got ran off by one of his crew. I forgot who it was, but it wasn't anybody famous. It was like one of their behind the scenes, and like, get away. And we went through the McPike Mansion several times with the family. There's a local psychic named Antoinette that is in the Alton area, and she went there. And she's cool. She was like more of a friend of my mom, because we were on the haunted tours with our house and everything. And now we saw the picture of the McPike Mansion, that thing in the window, kind of like you said, it's like a Rorschach thing. I didn't see a face or anything; I just saw a glob. Now, when you guys did the audio and you hear the kid blowing in the microphone or whatever it was, and then you hear them I'm cold. That was just creepy as hell. And then at the very end, with that creepy low voice, "Are you cold?" What do you think when you hear stuff like that? Is it why even be there anymore? Because that's creepy.
Well, it's just you're collecting data, you're collecting information. So sometimes when you get into the thick of it, you're not really sure what you're recording until you go back and analyze it. And that's exactly that case scenario. The Jim didn't hear that. We did not hear that. When it was after it was produced, Jim says, this is it, but we really had to amplify it. And in 3 different locations with 3 different contestants, again, it was a game show, got, "Are you cold?" And it did not get cold later on that evening. So whenever the first time it was said was when it was really pretty. For the second and third time, the temperature was dropping, and then that would be a logical question to ask. But the contestants did not hear it. Contestants did not hear that.
When you guys were going over all the stuff on the show, one of the viewers or listeners or whatever said, "Does that mean are you dead? Is that their code name for it?" And that kind of hit me even worse because I'm like, "Oh, that'd be rough, man. I died," and all of a sudden, the dude goes, "Are you cold yet? You're dead?" Yeah,
what they're feeling or sensing on the other side is very questionable, but that could be a slang for you're a corpse.
They have their own slang. That's awesome.
Well, we develop it here. It's the same kind of terminology. We just develop it in a different way,
So that was a trip when you guys said that the microphone that was down there in the wine cellar wasn't even working, and you guys were picking stuff up off of it.
Exactly. It was turned off. Actually, the battery died, and someone turned it off. But it was down there, and they were still getting some signal from it at the base. Now, McPike Mansion, we set up a table. About a 4x8 table, and on it was the wireless microphones, the the handheld wireless microphones. And there was something else there. Anyway, they did some videotaping and stuff like that. What was really weird about that unusual McPike scenario was that the sun was setting, and Jim Modulin actually videotaped twice, get this, twice, an entity just outside the exterior that goes into the basement. And he catches it on his own video camera. Well, later, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know what he shot. I shoot the exact same entity in the exact same place.
Because I remember that when you go to the DGS Halloween thing, you see that when you guys do. Now, I really liked how you went through, and I watched your video over and over again, of you just going through on your own, videotaping, and just kind of... Because you're watching through your stuff, and you're like, oh, where's it at? Where's it at?
Exactly. The thing about that evening was Dave was doing his... Okay, he was not going to allow me to do another investigation. That was going to be the thing. So I said, well, you just go ahead and do your game show, because I'm not your cameraman. I mean, I got to a point to where I'm not your cameraman. I'm here to capture ghosts. I'm not here to follow you around and make you look good. I'm not here for camera guy. That's what Jim's for. And so he got a little perturbed that I was not in the entourage with the contestant and Jim videotaping him. But I got to a point to where, okay, well, I'm going to videotape for an hour, whatever. I'm going to do an hour. I'm going to sit down and have a Coke. I'm not going to do that all night. And so I got to the point to where I whittled it down. I mean, I had a lot more stuff, but I whittled it all down to 30 minutes so they could put it on to their website. Okay, there's two things that happened. One was I pushed it all up into HD 1080i. So when it came on the web, on the internet, it was, high quality HD. And then the second fold was Glover goes, where's all my footage? And I said, well, I got ghosts. I'm not there to videotape you. I'm not there to make you. I said, you ask Jim. And so Jim pulls up all this other stuff. And it was just best quality 1080i ghosts you'll ever see. So the theory was, I guess, he trying to get video of him with the ghost or the ghost around him. And I think that is what he was really after. So in the end game, like I said, the McPike Mansion was one scenario where I think Glover had an ulterior motive, and he was trying to get me into it without telling me. And that's where it's kind of like, I'm not doing an investigation, videotaping, but I'm not going to take Glover or his game show. And then that was the end of it,
Yeah, and I can see how, I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here, where it's hard to balance that. I mean, you're a doctor. You've done this. This is what you do. This is your thing. Mm-hmm. And you're up against, like you said, a game show host. So it's hard to, the pit.
Oh, yeah.
That, to me, we just got finished talking about, that's why I said the devil's advocate of where you're Dr. Venkman.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
And he's, Rick Moranis.
Many Shubs and Zools knew what it was to be roasted in the depths of the floor that day, I can tell you.
And I think
exactly.
I think that best came together in the first pit, because that was the second or third thing I listened to, and it brought me back to my childhood, teenage years, all this stuff. You hear the creepy story, you have all the fire burning, the contestants, they go and sit in that. Were they sitting actually in the foundation area, or were they sitting away from it?
No, they were in. Well, we had a little base camp, which was maybe 100 yards away. That's where we had a little fire, and Glover was trying to recreate an environment from something he saw in a movie, where you'd sit around a campfire, you would tell a spooky story, and then you'd say, "And he's right over there," freaking out everybody.
Yeah.
And so we already had a meeting, and the guy who owned the land said, there is something there, and I want it removed, period. And Glover goes, not until we do a show. And then Glover bade us to shut that place down. What the scenario was that there was a pedophile who killed children and buried their bodies on the property. He dies. Another guy buys the house, and he continues killing children in the air. Then this guy is killed or incarcerated, and they tear down the house, and all that's left is really a basement. Well, anyway, when we get there, this is not the first time. First time, we actually take some still photography, and we actually capture this pedophile out around our stuff and videotape and things like that. And we are actually getting data. We are getting it, right?
Did you feel anything when you're out there? Did you feel like heavy or like you were being watched? Kind of like in the undisclosed house, you even say we are being watched.
When the sun went down, the whole thing changed, and I felt that we were not only being watched, we were sized up. And this is again where we go with what was attacked. And when Tom was attacked, he was actually choked. And when Tom was attacked again, he was the most nonchalant person there. He was not really involved. And so when it attacked Tom and started to choke him, then the whole thing just changed. We were, when we started getting on edge and saying, okay, then Vicky does the white light. Everything goes wrong. Everything starts to go wrong. And the equipment starts to fail. And one thing after another just failed. And so we are now looking around and in fear that we are going to be now physically attacked, other than Tom. And so I keep telling non-essential people need to be back at the bonfire. They should not be here. Things like that. I'm trying to get people away from this area, onlookers and guests. Well, what happens is that Katie Cruz and a few other people, I may be getting overlap here, but Katie Cruz and she had brought some guests and a few other people, and then they wanted to go down and they wanted to spend 5 minutes in the pit by themselves. Mm-hmm. And then when they do that, we actually videotape the ghost in the pit with them, and we see it. Right then, Katie Cruz, who's on camera, says, "Something touched me. We got to get out of here, blah, blah, blah."
Oh, I just saw something fly by.
Did you really? Are you kidding me?
No, I did. I definitely saw something. That'll come up on the camera.
No, dude, I hate to be the one to call the ball, but are you guys done with this?
I'm done.
I'm okay to go back.
Okay, stop.
So there's a real phenomenon going on right there. And so it's so real that I took the audio off that section and played it backward. And you clearly hear Katie Cruz saying, we are yellow women or what? Meaning yellows, they're frightened. She's totally afraid. She thinks it's entirely real. She doesn't think it's an animal like squirrels or possums or whatever. And then she is so frightened that she's screaming, blowing the thing, come running down there. And Glover goes, "You were down there about 2 minutes, not, the 5 or 8 that you're supposed to be." She thought they had been there for 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. They were so either hyped up on adrenaline or so out of kilter with time that she thought a half an hour had passed and that she couldn't see or hear us at the bonfire anymore. And she thought we had left. Yeah. That's how distorted perception of that event took place. After that, I think Glover pretty well calls it. When we go back again,
well, let me. I don't want to talk about the second one just yet. Okay. So you're right. You can hear because they had the one guy who was into trapping or whatever. I knew him. He worked at the casino with me at one point, and when I worked at the casino, I talked to him after I heard the episode. He goes, "You don't understand, man. I hunt these. Whatever it was circling around us." And then getting closer. And then you can hear some of the popping of the limbs and stuff like that. And then when she tried doing the air horn, it didn't work. It fizzled out.
Yeah. No, we could hear it. But by the time we got down there, and a lot of us just walked down there, we weren't really running, but they were already out of the pit running toward us.
Oh.
And they were, really shaking. Like, why did you, this is all off the air, but Katie Cruz and her friends that were saying, why did you ever convince us to go down there? And Glover was kind of laughing at the whole thing, and she was distraught. And so when I went back, when we did a review of that show, I actually did a show where I took all that entire audio and I listened to it backwards. And there are sections in there to where it is clear that these people are frightened both forward and backward in their train of thought. So that means their subconscious mind and their conscious mind are in sync. They are frightened. They don't know what that is. Things like that. And so when the sun went down, this whole thing started to change. And we were in danger. And Glover put us there, his contest.
That's still my favorite one to this day. Because everybody, the way it all came down, and I feel bad hearing how bad it was really there. It was great radio. I mean, you felt like you were there. You're in the moment, the way it was all set up. And at the very end, you hear the creepiest thing, and then you hear it moving something, like it's going back down into the ground somewhere.
Yeah. Now, there were open wells. And these are very expensive open wells. They were lined with brick, and they would go down to the water table. One of them was covered with tin kind of thing. And earlier, before we started recording, I actually picked it up, and I heard this sound like, this tin roof and this. So when you pick it up, it sounds like a tin door kind of thing. And so I laid it back down. Later on that evening, we hear that same exact thing, as if something out of that well. It had to have pushed it up a certain height and lowered it, and we got it on audio. And I said, that was 10 foot in front of Katie Cruz. She saw nothing. And it was either something back into the well or coming well. But she was scared, man. She was frightened out of her wits. I did a whole secondary show, just the audio of that show, because that's how frightened everyone was. And again, we're at cross purposes here. It's a game show, and I understand it's beating Steve and DC in their Halloween shows, but at the same time, I look at Glover, and he doesn't care if we're at risk or not. They signed a waiver.
Oh,
he's
that's
a lawyer.
The separation between Steve and DC and Dave Glover. Steve and DC, I was in high school. They're the most popular. All of you guys were on the show, including Dave. And then, the Halloween was such a big deal. Dave, you're right. He was just trying to recreate those things again for his listeners. And now, when we get to the second time you guys went to the pit, I really want to hear the behind-the-scenes stuff, what you guys all did, what you guys experienced, because I didn't like the show. It drug on. Like, I was into when you guys said you dumped all that water and it still didn't put the fire out. I dug how you guys went there and you could hear the rain coming down. But when they started going into, like, the relatives and, the houses, and then you guys did catch the old man laughing, which was kind of creepy. But other than that, I was not getting into it because, like, the two brothers and sisters were fighting. And
what had happened was that there were some Spanish migrant workers in the area, and they claimed that the pit was a demon. Demon lived in. So some locals, I don't know what they were doing, had set up effigies, and they hung bones all the way around the pit. And these are bones of dogs and deer and stuff like that, all the way around. They were held by strings. This is pure voodoo in my mind. They wrote on stones, and they put these stones in the pit.
Now, those are the workers?
I don't know who these people. I don't know who or where they came from. I just assumed they were in the area because not everybody knows where that pit is. And it's hard to find if you have not been. So they wrote on stones, and they made several incantations. One was, "Let my eyes see what is here and see the unseen." And it was written in Spanish. They made several other Egyptian symbols and stuff like that. There was a playing card in So what happens is we arrive and it's still daylight, and there is a fire blazing out of that pit. Now, the pit, the base of it was railroad ties. They may have had creosote or not. The first time I was there, I remember they were just wood planks, but they were like railroad ties, and they were in the bottom of that basement. So we get there, and it is on fire, and I mean fire jumping up 10 or 20 feet in the air. And they had just dumped 300 gallons of this, and they had quenched it just for a few minutes. I jumped down in there, and I started milling around with these stones and found a tarot card, and I pulled the tarot card out and a few other things, threw them out of the pit. They were hot, and my shoes started. And Vicky says, "Get out of there, get out of there." And anyway, so I find these pieces of evidence, and we realized someone had been there and did an incantation. And the incantation was the source of fire. We also found candles, which could have started the fire. There was leaves in the bottom of the pit and things like that. So these guys were dumping 300 gallons, went back. They got 500 gallons, went back, dumped it. The walls were stone brick, and they were glowing red. I mean, it was just glowing hot, hotter than a kiln. So we sit there and we go, oh, okay. Well, again, sun goes down. We check the weather. Weather says clear skies. Everything's okay. And then it was clear skies. And then we started sending people down to the pit. Couldn't get into the pit. They get on the outside. When the sun went down, I started to see these lights off the woods. And these are fairy lights, size of a hardball, and they're just floating around. And I can see them with my human eye. I don't even need the video camera or anything. And they were coming up to the edge of the woods, and then they just disappeared. Just bounce around. So we were at the pit, and then again they start telling some stories, and I'm scared. And all of a sudden, they set up these tents. We were going to have a police station, and then we set up these tents. I'm taking some still photos, and in a series of still photos, one of the was inside one of the MS Communications cars. I started taking other photos and being sized up again. The thing was just beyond 30, 40 feet from us, and a series of photos. I just 360. Let's go snap, turn, snap, 360. And this thing was just right there. We had not protected ourselves, back into a scenario where we were, again, had no defense. So what happens is it starts to mist, and Glover thinks this is a great thing, misty, stormy night or whatever, goes around. And all of a sudden, these people just start hedging, and they don't want to go down to the pit. They just don't want to, stay there for 5 minutes. Nothing. We get to a point, and everyone's kind of tired, and we come back up to the tents that they set up, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it just rains and rain coming down in bucket. And when it rains like this, I cannot use my equipment. I'm dead in the water. Their camera equipment started getting wet. Audio equipment started getting wet. Everything just started going down, and we were done. We were dead in the water. Glover says, "This is the worst thing we've ever had," or whatever. He starts complaining. And then you turn right around, and we were, totally at odds. We drive out of that field, get on the main highway, start heading back to San. Within a couple of minutes, we are out of that rain. That rain was only over that field at that time, and we were there for a good 10 minutes in a total downpour. It was raining so much, it was building up on the top of the tents, and the water started to seep down and break the legs, bend the legs of the tents. So the crew said, "We got to get out of here," blah. So they loaded up all their equipment. They pulled the cars right up to the tents. They loaded everything they could. And then we ran out before they struck the tents. They threw the tents in the back of a truck, and we were driving out. And then as soon as we turned the corner to get on the highway to come back to St. Louis, that was nothing. A couple of minutes, the rain just stopped. Dead as water. When we got back to St. Louis and we were talking about this thunderstorm, everyone looked at us like we were crazy. About 2 weeks later, I drive back out there by myself, pull off into the field, down into the pit, and those people somebody had reconstructed the stones, tried to do an effigy, an altar again to talk to this entity. So I just grabbed the stones and I just threw them around, hid them behind trees, and threw them as far as I could throw them. And I said, man, this place is horrible. It's horrible. And it's still unresolved because we can never do an investigation properly. Farmer still is trying to get that shut down, as far as I know. And all of his hired hands that work in that area say they won't in that field anymore. They're not going to buy that area anymore. And that's it. You walk into certain situations, you may think you're pretty smart and pretty brave when you're up against the elements of the supernatural and the weather and the climate and everything around you. So you just have to retreat. You have to pull back. And that's why that show wasn't very good, is because everything was against us. Even when we got there in plenty of daylight and plenty of time, you just couldn't do it. It just kept throwing something our way. The final conclusion to the story was I went back. So as it Paranormal Tuesday, I went on a Thursday. After work, I just jumped in the car and go out to the location. The fire in the pit was still flaming. So they had never put that fire out. And this is subtle energies that we can amplify. It's just like any other amplification device. FM, AM radio has a transmitter which amplifies a signal. And this is exactly the way this works. People can't control it. There is something out there called rogue waves. And these rogue waves sink ships because they're just they just cross the entire ocean. And that's what this is all about.
Dr. Michael Lynch, it has been such a cool-ass talk we had. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Where can we find you?
My website is Lynch, Lynch, 2012.wix, wix.com/index, INDEX. So it's Lynch 2012.wix.com/index. And I got some videos on there. I think they're still there. A lot of my links have kind of fallen to the wayside, but hit the enter at the lower part of the screen or go into Exterior Forces Lectures of the Paranormal. And anyone can kind of catch up with my train of thought right there.
Double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble.
Just like earlier when we had troubles when we started talking about it and the whole computer that's crashed. So it's been a trip. It's kind of like listening to some of your guys' shows and stuff would happen.
Oh, yeah. This happens quite a bit. I do everything I can at this end to have it as professional as possible for the internet. But when we get on these topics, you wouldn't believe how many professional radio scenarios there are who say, oh, we've got to go to commercial. We've just lost Dr. Lynch. And it's like, no, I can still hear you. You just can't hear me or whatever. And that happened with George Norrie. I was on his show. And it was like, we can't hear you, but I can hear you. So hang up, redial, open up and stuff like that. So I understand how that goes.
Step right up,
step right up. Doesn't it feel weird?
Halloween Slasher Story 2.
Nitro Herbal Energy Drink. To order, call 1314-485-9294. That's 1314-485-9294.
Dr. Michael Lynch, thank you so much for coming on the show. I recently saw on your Facebook page you did something at Stratford Inn. I have a big history with this because I used to live in Alton, Illinois for 4.5 years. We went there every Sunday after church for breakfast, and that place creeped me out. So I was excited watching these videos. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, how it all came about? And I have some more questions in regards to the theater across the street, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, there is a radio station in the basement of the Stratford Hotel. And there is a gentleman by the name of Pigpen and his partner Dennis that do a radio spot there for an hour on Thursday nights. And I knew Pigpen from the Dave Glover days when he worked for 97.1. So he gave me a call and said, I have this place called the Stratford Hotel. Have you been there? And, if there was a way for me to get into it, could you come by? And I said, absolutely, without a doubt. We made some arrangements. He called a few people. And so we went to the radio station, and then we just went upstairs to where the hotel is. Now, because of the hotel is now fallen under certain, derelict times, what we did do was that we were able to get on the first floor, the main lobby, and set up a table and then start looking for ghosts. Now, on my Facebook page, there's 19 minutes of the entities in slow motion. And the reason why they're in slow motion is because that they just move so fast in real time. We would miss a lot of the evidence and data because they're moving so fast. There was a legend or a story that was told by a housekeeper. Actually, there were several stories which Pigpen and Dennis both told me about. And they said that there was a piano player who would come in and play while the hotel was open. In the middle of the lobby is a baby grand piano. And people claim to have heard piano playing after the hotel has been closed. And there was no one up there except construction workers and things like that. So while we were there, it was not my intent to single any of the entities out, but the piano player kind of was stuck in my head. So I put all my equipment on top of the baby grand piano as we were doing the investigation. And lo and behold, I had the longest life batteries that I could possibly imagine. It whittled them down from 3 hours to less than 45 minutes. All my equipment was on top of the piano except for one of my handheld pieces. And so as we're walking around and I'm videotaping entities, the equipment that's left on the piano starts to die immediately. And there was another piece I had for a backup camera, and it was dying as I had turned it on. I mean, as soon as I turned it on, the battery just dropped. During the 19-minute videotape that's on Facebook, is you see this orb, this entity, come around, and it's actually Dennis in the background, come around from across the room and hover around the piano. And this, lo and behold, was the piano player. So that piano is haunted by that individual entity. Now, we videotaped 8 entities, and I had never been there before. And again, we weren't allowed to go throughout the entire hotel, but we videotaped at least 8 entities there. And Vicky Main had a session, a seance, to release one of the entities on into the afterlife. The piano player is still there, a couple of prostitutes, and a whole host of wandering spirits that come through that hotel. This was a virgin site for me, even though I had been in about 8 or 9 different locations in Alton. But this one was totally virgin. So what you see on the 19-minute video is really about 5 minutes in real time, just slowed down so that I could see the entities better and analyze the video better.
That's cool.
Yeah. So you have been to the Stratford? Oh, you had breakfast there.
Yeah. Back in the 90s is when I lived there.
Mm-hmm.
And every Sunday after church at St. Mary's, we'd go there. Yep. And it was creepy. And it was actually, from what I understand, I mean, we were in the lobby. I saw the piano, what you're talking about. Me and my brother actually played on the piano because we used to do piano. And we just, it was crazy. We'd go down to the bathroom and then checkered black and white. Oh, I think it was creepy down there. I felt like it's shining.
Now, that bathroom is still functional today.
Oh.
It is the radio station's bathroom.
Huh.
So
that's cool.
that is the bathroom. Yeah. The staircase, we went up into the lobby of that hotel.
Okay. Yeah. When I was there, I think it was still kind of functional. That was, like I said, this is back in like 95-ish area. I remember walking down the hallway and seeing a lady vacuuming down the hallway and stuff like that. But yeah, they had a big buffet they used to do. Now, my other question for you is, across the ways is the Grand Theater. Did you ever do anything over there?
No, I never did, but I've heard a lot of people say that it was haunted back in the day, before they actually closed the doors for the last time. Mm-hmm. That was up for investigation. Someone was giving a tour. They were charging like $20 a head, and they were going to give a tour of the Grand Theater. And at that time, I did not have my equipment, portable enough or ready enough to be able to go into that. Troy Taylor wrote several stories on the legends of it, but no one, to my mind, beyond still photography, had much other than just stories. There may have been a few photographs out there of orbs or something like that, but I never really saw them. I heard about them, but I never had the chance or the opportunity. Now it's permanently closed. Wow. No one's allowed in. It's boarded up, so it's...
Oh, I haven't been back in Alton forever, so wow. Huh. Yeah, because it was in... Parts of it were in disarray back in the day when they had it as a haunted house. So you can only do so much of it.
Like I said, this is the season. This is the season. If you can't be scared and freaked out during Halloween, then Christmas is the only less spookiest holiday that creates mass panic and rioting than any other holiday. So enjoy Halloween, man, and thanks for everything.
Thank you for listening to the Miscellaneous Podcast. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to the show. You can find us on almost all podcast platforms. You can also contact us at miscellaneouspodcast17@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook at MISC Podcasts and on Twitter at MISC Podcast17.
And you can call or text using our Google number, 314-403-0151. That's area code 314-403-0151.
Hey, how does that fly? And I go, man, it flies great. It's perfect. And then I will say, how do you shift a Volkswagen? And they say, well, I do this and do this. So I can't understand what you're doing, but there's some things in a Learjet you won't understand what I'm doing. And so that's kind of the way it is. They're in a totally different reality. And a lot of the things do not apply. Our reality is a substructured reality, meaning it's designed for our mind to understand it. They're in a non-structured reality where it's just energy. And the energy is just phenomenal. And that's their structure. So they are in energy. We're in matter. And it's kind of a totally different thing. It's a different way of approaching it. That's why a lot of people, especially physicists and parapsychologists, have got it wrong. I'm not dealing with your brain or your heart or how many chemicals you put in your body. What I'm dealing with is transmission and reception of energy waves that would be the same as a radio station. And
you mentioned chemically. Do you think that is accessible? By taking drugs, the DMT or any other hallucinogens that, I've heard people say that the pineal gland in the middle, the direct center of your brain, it stimulates certain chemicals that can give you that same experience, but a lot of people say it's just more vivid. Do you think that those places like witch doctors and people who use those hallucinogens do reach that place?
Well, yeah, they can, but there's really not a need for it. So, you can go through self-hypnosis. You can study self-hypnosis and technically hypnotize yourself to reach those states without any chemical intervention. Others think that doing the magic mushrooms or doing whatever gets them into that state. And that's not. It's just a chemical imbalance in your body that is that is allowing your conscious mind to go into your subconscious mind. It's the same thing under hypnosis. I can put a person into hypnosis and they can talk to anybody they want, and they'll see them. Or I can pull them out of their body under hypnosis and they can see different realms. You don't need that chemical imbalance to create a doorway into that other world. Now, again, okay, let's go back. Shamans have been doing this with, opium and
I know ayahuasca is a big one.
Ayahuasca, the magic mushrooms and marijuana and everything else. Peyote. They would do that so they would lower their normal beta wave or the alpha wave mind into beta, or the beta wave mind into alpha. And they would try to cycle between these two aspects. So they'd have one foot into this reality and then the other foot into the other reality. But what happens 9 times out of 10 is that they get there and there's somebody else there that is a guide or a transfer of information, which is already there, which of course they're already there all the time. And then they sit back and go, oh, this is the information you're looking for. Then boom, here it is. And so they went through this entire process of messing up with the chemicals in their body and their brain waves in order just to get that one piece of information from a guide that is already there. And you can talk to that guide almost, you can talk to them right now while you're straight. You don't have to, it does not require drugs in order for this to happen. And there's some great guys out there. I'm just listening to a few talk about the magic mushroom and ayahuasca and how they thought they needed to do that in order to reach this higher level. And once they got to that higher level, it was just the same as sitting there thinking, I'll just talk to my guide and my guide will tell me everything I need to know. So it's a roundabout way of dropping your brain waves into that level so that you can see that other reality. And our brain has that capacity by itself. It does not require, because it's the way it's structured. It's the way it is structured is already built in. It's already pre-built in.
No, I agree. And I honestly, my opinion is I don't think we're evolved enough to kind of tap into that on demand. Is anyone there?
Yeah.
We're all here. Sorry. Okay. This is
yes and no. Yes and no. It really, you can do it on demand if you have trained yourself to do it. Psychics and mediums and channelers all can do it on request, and that's because they have a natural ability to lower their conscious mind to dip into the subconscious where they're open and receptive for information. It can be done on demand. It can be, but you've got to practice in order to get there. And most people don't have the time or inclination to work that hard to get there, but it can be done on demand.
Okay.
Let me just back up. The government has spent a lot of money, man, for people to do this on command.
Oh, so, yeah. No, I've read a lot of the, I don't even want to call them, they're not conspiracy theories. I mean, things have been released that this has been done.
Yeah,
remote viewing and all that stuff.
Remote viewing, remote sensing of almost any kind. And this was built up because the Russians were doing it first.
Yeah.
And they had a woman who could move objects with her hands or her mind. And when that film got to America, the U.S. government said, "Oh, this is incredible. We've got to put our best people to it," and then that's what happened. The other thing too is don't think that we're being deprived of anything. There are a lot of extraterrestrial species, a lot of extraterrestrials out there they are exactly like us. They don't have psychic abilities. They cannot see the future. They cannot, they don't have the wherewithal that actually a lot of Americans have, a lot of humans have. And some people are just genetically disposable to to psychic ability where other people are not. That's why you have people who are football players and then people who are not. We kind of go with our best strengths. But I've talked to hundreds of psychics. Each one of them are different in almost every way, or slightly different in different ways. And I've only found 2 out of all the ones I've talked to that actually are the same. And so they can back each other up. They're getting the same readings from the same entities. They're giving me the same information. It's amazing. It's amazing. But, yeah.
That's wow.
It's wild.
That's crazy. And, you talked about, too, telekinesis, moving things. And I know with the Cold War, that's why we started doing PSYOPs. And then I know China recently, I don't know if they're using the CRISPR thing, but even with China, they're experimenting and breeding kids who have been shown these abilities.
Yeah, let me just, I think we've talked about this before, but I'll just refresh everyone's memory. Okay, let's say man is he's a confined species. He's a confined species, meaning that there are other extraterrestrials that will never give us warp drive to get out of our solar system. We'll never achieve the Star Trek level unless, the aliens really give it to us. So the reason why, there's 2 reasons for that. One is, but the basic reason is that we are not telepathic. And if you are telepathic, you can go to the other end of the galaxy and transmit information through your mind, and it will be received on Earth simultaneously. If I did that through radio waves, it would take 100 light years, light traveling at the speed of light, to get to the Earth. It takes 20 minutes from a signal on Mars to hit the Earth. And then so when we send back a signal, it takes another 20 minutes. But if you do this psychically through the mind, through the architecture of our reality, it is simultaneous. So you can go 100 light years out and we can talk to each other in real time. Right. There's no delay. Until humans can capture this via CRISPR, via, genetic breeding, by mental exercise, by, not drinking a certain product or drinking a certain product, gives us the aptitude to be able to do this, then we can transmit. And then what's so unique about our universe, what's so unique that even a lot of astrophysicists don't even understand, is that the universe is designed exactly like the human brain, and it transmits information throughout itself exactly the same way. So if you had a scan of the human brain and a scan of the universe that we understand, it is designed exactly the same way. So we can use it. Thoughts can travel through our universe simultaneously compared to radio waves. So you have SETI out there looking for radio waves, and you have the Drake equation saying, if civilizations survive, then they can go from there. But the problem being is that that's a very primitive way of looking at it. If they're using telekinesis or psychic power, we'll never be able to detect that unless you have another psychic. But if you are looking for radio waves, the radio wave concept is only a microsecond of the evolution of that race. So from the first radio transmission, which was about 150 years ago, to today, and if we left radio frequencies, if we left that realm and went into another frequency level, then everyone else out on the planet out there who could not receive those frequencies would think that we just blew ourselves up or we just disappeared because we're not using the same frequencies that they are using. So if we're looking for something in RF, we're looking at it at the very beginning of their civilization, which the light and radio waves would have to travel millions of light years in order for us to reach it. And would we even know anything about it after it got here? Probably not, because the vocabulary is something totally different. So we need to, the universal language is telepathy. The universal intergalactic conversation is going to be
the radio in there.
Telepathy.
Yep. No, when you talk about the radio waves, I had to put some radio music in there.
Oh, that's fine. You can play whatever you want, man.
All right, what was the next question?
I overslept and just got here. Start over.
Welcome, Norco. It will kill her.
Sorry about that, folks.
Hello, Norco Killer.
Hello.
How are you today?
Good.
Do you have your video on?
No, I don't.
Too damn bad.
All right, so what's the next question for Dr. Lynch?
Yeah.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, whatever you got.
I was going through it. Those were all my questions.
Oh, cool. Okay. And those were all the ones from the Facebook, right?
Only 2 of them. The rest were mine.
Oh, what were the other ones on Facebook? It's because you want to receive the free gift, right? That's why.
Right.
Well, at least for right now, Dr. Lynch, which one did you like the best, question-wise?
Oh, I think the first one was the most interesting and the most complex.
Yeah, it was a lot.
That was actually a listener.
Oh, cool.
Now, I want to back up the preface of that, and I think we need to understand a few things. One is that every entity that we call ghosts or whatever has its own interest and personality. It is not of a mass consciousness. It is individualized. And it retains its gender as it goes through. And that...
like a gender identity?
Yeah, the gender identity. So they're male or female.
LGBTQI.
So that... Yeah, wait. So the ghost identifies as... Wow.
Yeah, because it's in its memory, it's in its mind. Now, once the entity is either reincarnated or does whatever, then that will change altogether. The mind will switch, and it becomes whatever it will be biologically in the future. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the theory is that a lot of people get reincarnated, and they get reincarnated in different sexes, but their mind, their consciousness, adapts to that body, and then it becomes that thing. And that's the odd thing about that. Like when you go into haunting cases, let's say you go into an old house or whatever, the ghosts that you're going to bump into there are individuals. They are individuals. And so they have different wants, different desires, different likes, dislikes. And so every ghost hunter that goes in there has got to be aware that, okay, I'm intruding on someone else's property. I need to do this, I need to do that. I need to protect myself, and I don't need to insult anybody while I'm in there.
Yeah.
And then that changes the whole complexion of the investigation.
There's just a group of particular individuals.
With a particular set of skills. Hey, so Doctor, my question is, so we talked about last time, well, actually several years back when you first came on the show, we talked about The Entity, the movie The Entity.
Oh, yeah, The Entity, yeah.
So, there was another movie I wanted to talk about at the same time, but we didn't get to it. But it's not a movie. It was actually it was on Oprah Winfrey. It was on Sightings. It was on this other stuff. It was this mother of a divorced mom with a kid, and she was in like a bungalow. And it turns out this guy, the ghost of this guy, was still living there and was like, "You need to get out. This is my house." All this other stuff. And there was a photo of one of the camera guys, the paranormal camera guys, being choked in the attic by some wire. So you know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's Barry Taft. Yeah.
What do you think of that? With that much, I mean, all I've known from like violent ghosts or entities is demonic, but that wasn't demonic, was it?
No, it was a territorial attack. Barry Taft and his camera crew, were up there, rattling the rafters, and of course it felt intimidated and trapped, and he was going to lash out. Now that rope was already there. It's what people understand is that rope was hanging down there, and so the rope actually came down like a tentacle and wrapped around the guy's throat and then tied the knot. Or the knot was already tied, but he went around the head and around the neck. And of course, it was just a couple of inches too short, and they as he walked forward, it just tightened, and then it was like a garrote, tightening around his throat. Now, what was odd about the knot is that no one understood that who could even tie that knot.
It was a sailor's knot, wasn't it?
Barry Taft says this was a sailor's knot. Yeah. And that never went away. The mother and daughter left that house. And again, it had all the spooky features, but it was all explainable. Okay, they saw what they thought was red blood coming out of the walls, which basically it was all just rust from the plumbing and piping that was there. Okay, and then stuff would break or doors would open and things like that. Now, a lot of this house was old, and even Barry Taft said it was not quite level, so they went around and leveled everything out. And they realized that a lot of this could have been just the house doing what it does. Heats up, cools down, things open, things close like that. Now, I'm not saying Barry's dumb, not intelligent, but I'm saying that was the case that he wanted to take a bunch of liquid nitrogen and try to freeze the ghost inside that house. Now, that was not going to work. So this case goes on.
Wait, hold on. They wanted to do so in the movie The Entity, they used the liquid nitrogen so that's based on actual real science to try to catch a ghost?
Try to freeze the ghost in seconds. Yeah.
Well, he's not the Invisible Man.
Yeah, he's not the Invisible Man. He's just energy. So,
he's not Terminator 2.
Have you seen this boy?
In some cases, I feel that's really desperate to go that far. But what happens is the mother and daughter move out. The entity follows them for about another year later, and they move to another location. And then at the very end, Barry Taft says, "Well, there's nothing we can do for you because you're not possessed. This is just haunting you." And since he's not a medium or a psychic or anything like that, he couldn't go much further but the investigation. But there is one piece of film which Barry and his partner shot, and they were doing the final interview with the girl and with her mother, and they captured a small entity, and it actually went through her cranium, through her skull, and come out the other side.
Jeez.
Now, she didn't act like that was... She didn't act any different. So they caught this on film, so they knew that entity was just attached to her. And they had to...
I remember that.
Really? Yeah, they had to end that case because the girl was falling in love with the camera guy, thinking that he could save her. But that just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. So this is when, I evolved into working with people who could shut those things down. So you deal with a psychic who's dealing with angels. The angels are bad, and these big bad angels come in and they just say, "You're coming with me. We're going to go do this," and then they go. Man, there is no argument with an angel. An angel is like all peace and love until you cross them, and then they're all like, we're going to see the guy upstairs.
Oh yeah, now, we got such a big wig. But
when we did Exorcist House, when we did the Exorcist House,
thank you. That's exactly. You're the same wavelength as me. I wanted to ask, and I don't want to interrupt you real quick, but I want to ask you. You were there when the Dave Glover first went there, right? The big one they did in 2008, right?
And I was there before that. I was before the Dave Glover show. But go ahead. Yeah.
I just want to make I was listening to it the other day because it's all Halloween stuff. And I thought I heard your voice back there. So when they went and they took the people into the room upstairs at the top of the stairs, were you you were there for that one, right?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because I remember the favorite one is when they went back with what is it, Travel America or whatever, and
Destination America. Yeah,
I was watching the Periscope they were doing, and I see you sitting on the chair where you're like all dressed, and you're just kind of like looking back and like smiling, like, "Hey," and I was just like, "Hey, they're just like Lynch." So
and these guys,
I know that
guy. Yeah. I couldn't imagine being on like a big ass set like that, because that house is really small, isn't it?
Yeah, they cleared out all the furniture. They had one of those storage bins like a pod, like one of those big pods.
Oh, wow.
And they took all the furniture out of the house except for just, a couple of chairs and stuff like that. And so it didn't look crowded on the video. So a lot of people were sitting in what we call staged, environments, because the way they set the cameras, they had to have a lot of room for the guys with the cameras because they're walking around wearing these harnesses with cameras on. So this was not a cheap production. They spent $12 million on that. Dropped $12 million. And that was putting it in newspapers, on ads, on cable, all across the spectrum. Well, and so when they got down to it, this was a circus. This was a media circus. But what it boiled down to was that it was all scripted, except for the ghost didn't know that.
Well, I didn't like it. Like, I watched it, but I watched it afterwards so I could fast forward it to, the scenes I wanted to see, because you know how they drag it out. Because, Ghost Hunters does it a lot, too. They'll drag it out and then show the shock and awe a little bit later. But the one that you guys did with the audios are the best ones for me. Because you can get your mind's image going versus really seeing it, Yeah,
okay, when we're there, oh God, this is so messed up. Okay, when we went there the first time, we were shooting a documentary called The Haunted Boy. And Vicky, the psychic, can you hear me? Am I okay?
All right. Yes, I'm just turning off the microphone because I have a lot of background noise because we had to kind of situate audio in here. So I just been turning it off so we hear clear.
So the first time we get there with the production crew, and they are totals. We're from California, man. We know everything, and we don't believe in orbs, and we don't believe in blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. And I said, do you believe in psychic ability? And they go, oh, yeah, on occasion, we've had psychics and yada, yada, yada. So then they say at the very end, okay, this is all entertainment. This is just for entertainment value. You guys don't have to do too much. Just make it entertainment value. And we go, okay, no problem. That's what we do. So we get in there and we're shooting this documentary called The Haunted Boy. And I videotape orbs coming through the door from the outside, floating around the living room. And then we get upstairs, and guess what? At the crescendo, the end of the documentary, Vicky says, we're going to shut down this portal. We're going to have all the entities go into the light, and we're going to have Archangel Michael come down to make sure that this is all copacetic. So there is supposed to be this tornado. Think of a tornado or vortex just spinning in this kid's room. And I'm sitting there videotaping it. And these balls, these orbs, man, are floating around in circles and circles. They're spiraling around and around and around. And then suddenly there's 2, then there's 4, then there's 6. Then all of a sudden, Vicky goes, okay, Archangel Michael's here. And then all of a sudden, these things just go straight up, just through the roof. Just through the roof, and they're gone. And then she says, I'm going to shut down this vortex. And so she shuts it down, and then everybody goes, oh, we're all done, and we're walking out. And then the production guy goes, okay, give me your tapes. And I said, okay, sure. So here's all my tapes. And he goes, we'll watch these on the plane back to California, back to the studio. And then we go, okay. And I said, this is regular DV. It's a DV tape. You can play it, DV25. You can play it on any camcorder or whatever. And they said, okay. And I said, I did not time code it because a lot of times that is problems with editing. So they go, okay, no problem. So we say goodbye. They pack up their equipment and they jump on the plane and they're heading back to California. So we don't hear anything about the editing. We don't have any idea what they used, what they didn't use. Then all of a sudden, they get on a radio program. Who the DJ, the talk show host, is a friend of mine, and he goes, hey, I've got those 2 brothers on, those Booth brothers, and they say that they did an investigation at the Exorcist house. And I said, yeah, they sure did. And he says, well, you need to listen to this interview. And I said, okay. So I listened to the interview, and the very first 4 minutes was like, okay, we didn't believe in orbs, but now we believe in orbs. And so it's like we took these guys from Hollywood who thought they knew everything, and then turned right around and blew them out of the water.
Nice.
And that was amazing. And then, okay, so we did the Glover show. Okay, and in Glover, in his
game show host,
game show mentality, he's no Alex Trebek, I can tell you that much. Anyway, so what the deal is that he says, okay, guys, he didn't tell us he set up a camera on his own. Okay, but I saw it later, and I go, oh, yeah, that's a nice looking camera. Anyway, so what he does is he plays the last 5 minutes of the movie The Exorcist to freak everybody out. And he says, he turns to him with the lights off and goes, okay, all that happened in this house, real slow. And it goes, ah! They get up and then they run around. Okay, 3 of them actually said, we want to do the experiment. And then 2 of them just like, no, we're out of here. So they go up. So one of the girls goes up into the exorcist room, the bedroom, and they had removed the furniture out of that. And so there was just a chair, a little table there, and some candles and stuff like that. And so we're sitting there. And then, okay, now Glover goes, okay, this is what we're going to do to make sure there's no pranks going on. Everybody go out to the garage. So I go out to the garage, Gomez, Vicky, Mark Close, we had a couple other guys out there. We're all out in the garage, we're just kind of sitting there looking at our equipment and making sure we're ready to go back in. Dave Glover and Jeff Allen and the owner are in the front yard. Okay, we can't see them, but they're in the front yard. Okay, so we're sitting there and we're going, Vicky turns to me, she's a registered nurse, and she turns to me and she says, does anyone have 911 on their phone yet? And I said, no, I think we should get ready to dial that. And then all of a sudden we hear this scream like you would not believe. It was the loudest female scream you could ever possibly imagine. And then, for me, it's like I'm going to wait 3 seconds before I run in there because I just got to get myself mentally prepared. So she screams, and then no one does anything. And Glover's in the front yard, and he doesn't do anything. And I was like, oh, my God. So we run around to the front of the house. We go up the staircase. Glover's right there. And this girl is like blubbering like you just would not believe. She's just climbing the walls. So we take her out of the house. We calm her down. Vicky gets a cold compress and puts on her head. And then, okay, we didn't understand what she was screaming at. That was the real question in our minds. What is she screaming at? And we looked around. And couldn't see anything. And then later, okay, on the footage which Glover shot on his camera, you see this black vapor. It's like a mass, black vapor. Not a mass. It's like a vapor, and it goes over the candles, and the candles start to flicker, and then it goes right to her, right toward her, and then that's when she screams. And so they caught on their equipment, this black mist, and then they turned to me, and Glover goes, "Yeah, this ghost busting stuff's not so hard." But anyway, so the woman was freaked out. The woman was totally freaked out. And then there's another guy who goes in, and then he is there, and he's sitting in the same chair, same candles, everything's the same, except you can hear on his microphone this dragging of either a foot, like someone's dragging their foot, or dragging a bag of sand or whatever. And it goes, so you hear the step, boom, 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 like that. And then all of a sudden he said the door handle on the door turned, and it started to rattle like someone's trying to open the door and get in. And then right then he goes, okay, I'm done. I'm out of here. One of you guys are up here screwing around with me. And then he gets up, almost puts a lawsuit on Glover for freaking him out. And he jumps up and he runs out of the house and he goes, you guys set this up. This is all a prank. And Glover goes, no, we're all right here. This is it. This is our entire crew. And, and my guys are in the garage. So we didn't even know what he was upset about. But if you go back and you listen to that audio that we had, and we amped it like a million times, but you could actually hear him listening and saying, what was that? What's that? What, somebody in the hallway? And he actually says, hey, there's somebody at the door, somebody in the hallway, or something like that. And then Glover's going, who is he talking to? What's going on up there? And so after we did the Glover show, it was like, oh my God, Glover, you're putting people in the wrong place at the wrong time, and things like that. And then when we did Destination America, man, it was the saddest thing in the world. But on my Facebook page, you can go and look, and in my photos under Destination America, and I got still photographs and video of the entities that were there. And I didn't have to go into a mirrored box and sell myself to the devil in order to capture an entity. And those Wraith Chasers, or whatever their name was, man, was just joke, just a joke. And what was really funny about it, the whole thing about that Destination America video was, I'm standing there talking to the producer of the show. I mean, this guy's paid tons of money for this, and we're sitting there talking. We're just kind of bantering back and forth, and then this Greyhound bus. Think of a Greyhound bus pulls up, and then four of these guys just kind of stumble out like they've been drinking all night, and they stumble out, and then their wives stumble out. It's like, oh my God, this is like a vacation for them. And they were standing there, talking like blah, 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 blah. And I go, hey, I said, what's the strategy for tonight? What are you guys going to do? And they go, oh, we really don't have too much of a strategy. We're just going to wing it. I said, you're live, in every time zone for the next 3 hours, and you're going to wing it? I said, oh my God. I just grabbed a chair and sit down. I just said, this is ridiculous. This is just pathetic. But anyway, so all the entities that were actually there that night were outside the house, and I caught them on my still camera and on my video camera. That's awesome. They didn't even me for anything. I said, because I was a consultant. They just had me in there as a consultant. So I was a consultant. And I said, okay, Did you hear that whisper?
Pardon? Did you guys hear that whisper? Hand to God, I just heard a whisper, and I looked over at Josh. He said he heard it too.
No.
Ooh, I hope I caught that. Because I'm looking, because we have muted mics everywhere, and it's just me and Josh with the mic open, and you, Dr. Lynch.
Yeah, I was muted.
So wow, that's cool. Hey, real quick, because we're kind of pushing on time. I posted in the Discord feed the Dave Glover stuff, so if everyone wants to listen to that one, it's pretty good. It's exactly what Dr. Lynch was talking about. I'm going to repost the one we first did, Dr. Lynch, where we went over a lot of all that stuff, including some other stuff. So I'm going to post it up there and everything. So pretty much, but I do apologize for pusher time right now because it's already after the hour. So
the only thing that I want to say is that Halloween and ghost hunting is fun. It's a lot of people say it's fun and games and it's thrilling, it's exciting and everything. But the sad part about it is very, very dangerous. It's very dangerous to a certain extent.
For the wrong people,
wrong people, and they need to be psychologically evaluated before they go on a ghost hunt. But if you are with a group of people and they say, hey, let's go on a ghost hunt, give them a piece of paper and say, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of heights? Are you afraid of blood, sight of blood or whatever? Give them a piece of paper and say, what are you afraid of? Because that is exactly the problems, the psychological problems that they're going to have when they get out of that place, and they won't be able to sleep that night. So you got to get all your phobias out of the way up front first, and then turn right around and then say, okay, we're prepared now. But a lot of people go in there with their phobias, and they don't like small spaces, they don't like the dark, they don't like 10 or 15 other things.
Mine's Marlon Brando lookalikes.
Yeah, and it's not like going to Six Flags and going to a haunted house, It's not like Six Flags where they throw stuff at you. This is stuff that you cannot control. You're unable to control it. You're unable to negotiate with it. And it is what it is. It is.
And then it follows your ass home.
Exactly. And that's what you do not want. That is what you do not want. Yeah. That's all. Thank you. Thank you very much, man. It's been a party.
Paul, what are you doing?
Well, never mind.
Or Josh. I'm
No,
sorry.
this is the party. No, this is really cool. So, again, thank you so much again for Dr. Lynch coming on. This is all just amazing. And so he did pick the first one, right? And you, Aaron, you have the info for that person?
I do.
Sweet. What did I just say? Queet. That's wrong.
Queet.
And
That's so good with the words.
yeah, we're gonna have to redo some things on that one. But other than that, though, thanks so much, Dr. Lynch. So, what are you working on right now? Where can we find you? Where can we just pick up for all the stuff you want to be doing for the rest of the month or any other time? Because, like I said, you talk about tons of all these great things that you do, not just paranormal. So, how do we find you?
I'm on my Facebook page almost 24/7. I do a lot of emailing and Facebook, but I'm working now with a gentleman by the name of Nathaniel Gillis, and he is a demonologist, and he's coming out with a new book, and he wants to partner up with me and go on like Joe Rogan and all these other talk shows that are out there.
Was he on The Hunted and other those TV shows? Is it that guy?
No. He's never been on television. He's only been on radio so far. But he is interesting. He's really interesting because, see, when I got started in all this, I had to do all this research that went back about 2,000 years, and then I had to make it tangible in the 20th century. Well, when we got into the 21st century, I said, I'm not going to do that anymore. That history takes up too much time. So I'm just going to concentrate on what we've discovered in the last, 10 years, or the last, 6 years, and focusing on those new discoveries and then go from there. And so he decided, well, I'm going to do the history. I'm going to write a book about this. And I said, okay, go right ahead. That's fine with me. But, that eats up so much time on a talk show that you don't get to the cool stuff. And the cool stuff is they're right here in the room with us. Mm-hmm. And that is the cool stuff. And he goes, yeah, you're right. So he goes, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be on Joe Rogan. I'm going to be on like 2 or 3 others. And he said, I want you to, we'll do it on Zoom and we'll back everything up on Zoom. I said, that's fine. That's fine with me. Everything, if you want to take all the history, that's fine with me. But I have all the tech and all the science over here, and we can go back and forth. But I really wanted to get as much information in and on the 21st century as I possibly can. And that's kind of where I'm at. So,
that's awesome,
so we're piecing it together. I've got a few things coming up, but they're tentative right now because of COVID and everything else. It's keeping your distance and things like that. So if I go on an investigation, it's going to be very limited. 3 or 4 people, maybe 5, and we'll go in as couples.
Yeah.
And then because you never want to go ghost investigating alone, even though I've done it. I don't like doing it.
You don't recommend it.
Not good.
We were looking into doing that too this year. Instead of doing like some other shows, we were looking into going to the Limp Mansion. And originally we were going to have on Julia, who used to work at the Limp Mansion, and I wanted actually you two to kind of, she tells a story and you can bring it up. But that's like we said earlier, that's the showman in me. But it canceled. But this was even better than I like, because I love doing these in-depth talks about this stuff.
I've got so many stories. Limp Mansion, man, it'll just fry your mind. And not only that, we've got the face of Billy Limp. We got the face of the Limp. So we know that it's haunted, man. We know it's haunted because we've got the evidence. So I got stories about that.
Well, because we were gonna go do all that, the sleepover, all that stuff, but with COVID, no. So then I wanted to do what you guys did, maybe go to Milton School or the Minute Springs Hotel or Stratford Inn, if that could be done. Call all around there. Not the same thing. They're like, how big is your group? Nope, we're not gonna have anybody over. So it does kind of suck this year. So everything's on hold, so to speak.
I did go. There was a haunted place over in Alton, Illinois, and it was a restaurant and hotel. And I cannot think of the name of that place.
That's the Stratford Inn.
Oh, that's the Stratford Inn. Okay,
yeah,
yes.
Because I get an interview from you about that, which I'm gonna take all the Lynch stuff, put it all into one thing, like a big clip thing, and I'm gonna throw it up there for the Halloween stuff too. So
Stratford Inn, man, I can guarantee you it's haunted, and it's haunted by every age group: little girls, little boys, adults.
Weird how you said that.
And we got him on video, and when we showed him to the staff of that radio station, which is right in the same building, they just like wigged out and go, "Oh my God, I can't believe this!" And I said, "Yeah," and I said, "This is just about a 30-minute. We just were in there for 30 minutes." And just think if we were in there for like 2 hours or 3 hours, we had to get special permission. But we were there for like a limited time. We were in the main lobby, and we got stuff. There was stuff I didn't even put on the DVD because it was just like right up there in front of your face.
And yeah, because you were saying like it was draining your batteries and everything, like hardcore.
3-hour lithium battery, and it killed it. It killed it. I had backups. I put the backups on. I went another like 15 minutes, and then it killed that.
I want to know how much, if we ever do these things, I want to bring you along. I want to know how much it's going to cost in batteries alone just to record stuff.
No, let me tell you, man. Let me tell you, we had a motorcycle battery, a 12-volt compact motorcycle battery, and we set it down because we were going to do an all-night investigation, and we had that battery, and we were going to hook it up to our camera equipment, and we had it all worked out, and we set it all up. And then all of a sudden, we're looking down this hallway, right? And then this big white mist comes straight at us. And then all of a sudden, our camera equipment goes boom. And that battery should have lasted us 8 hours by the usage. And it went dead as soon as that white mass went through. We had when MTV came into town, I got to tell you this real quick story.
No,
MTV came into town, and they were at the Limp Brewery. They were at the Limp Brewery. And so one of the techs there, she was kind of skeptical about our equipment. And she goes, can I, put your equipment on? And yeah, sure, no problem. So we put it on her, and she's walking down one of the hallways there, and this is so cool. And she says, "I see this light at the far end." And we don't see anything, of course, because we're standing right there. And then I said, "Well, is it coming toward you?" And she says, "Yes, it is." And it came right straight toward her, and it almost hit her in the face. And right then the equipment just died. Everything just died. And she goes, "Wow, I was a skeptic before, but now this is something real, And it does change your perception on the fabric of our reality, and it's really, really interesting. Interesting.
I always had this theory, and this is kind of like, I'm sorry, we're dragging way past time. I do apologize. So we're gonna get going. We're gonna wrap this up. But I always looked at this like ghosts, ghouls, and goblins, and all that stuff. Here's how I look at it: when they want to touch somebody or whatever, I always have this feeling like the world is a covering, and they can only push in so far. So it's like when you take a tissue to pick up like something off the ground, it's like that kind of concept. Like they can't actually touch you, but they can get as close as they can. I don't know.
Yeah. Imagine them going through you. Imagine them going through walls and solid stone. And
you remember when you guys did the nondescript house in North County with the DGS show, and Tom got cut. Remember, he had scratched. But the pictures looked like it was scratched underneath, and it was going out.
When they scratch you below your dermis. So you have 7 layers of skin, basically 7 layers of skin. And the idea is that these cuts go below the skin, and they bleed upward.
Okay,
and
good.
He was scratched 17 times. 17 scratches. Took him 3 or 4 weeks to heal up.
Oof. Yeah, he was effed up.
That was a minor thing, because when we went out to the basement out there, the pit, he was strangled by his own. We all wore these Leonards, and the Leonard had our ID on them. And
the lanyards. Okay.
Yeah, glow stick. It had glow stick and our IDs on. Okay, because it all said 97.1. Wow. And then, so he's out there with somebody else, and all of a sudden he's starting to gag, and his his ID and stuff is behind him, and he's being choked.
Jeez.
And they call me down, and I look at him. Well, he had no bruising, but you can see the red dye of the material on his neck.
Damn.
And he says, Lynch, he goes, it was choking me. It was choking.
He's like susceptible. Even when you guys went down in the other house, the undisclosed house, and you could hear you opening up your little bag of goodies, so to speak, and you're pulling out the old kid's dress, the confirmation dress, and you're looking at all the pictures and everything. You can hear him like, like he's really susceptible to this stuff, isn't he?
He's not a fraidy cat, but he is a scary cat. Meaning, if anything's scary, he's trying to adjust for that. It doesn't fit his paradigm. He doesn't understand anything beyond, getting up and going to work and things like that. So he is really his mentality, his paradigm is in this reality.
Yeah, I didn't mean he was scared. I just felt like he was having an anxiety attack or something.
Yeah. And he's a stutter. He just stutters. He gets so wrapped up he can't even tell you what's happening. He's just like, It was like, okay, man, you sit down, and and I said, if you don't come out of this, because he was having an anxiety attack, if you don't come out of this, we're calling the ambulance, because he needs oxygen and he needs a cold compress and a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, so Glover says, no, we'll just wrap it up and then we'll go home. Like, this is like, it's all going to go away just because you go home?
Yeah.
No.
That's when Vicky, that big reveal at the end when she goes, we didn't do any of the blessings or any of the white light or anything before we even came in here, which for me felt like, as a listener, hearing this and going, wow, with the really creepy lady saying, I don't want you to do anything, go down to the basement. That was a creepy thing, dude. And then when she goes, we got to do the white light, we got to get out of here because you're talking about them shutting everything down. I think, because even Dave Glover admitted that he was so weirded out by that house and the Exorcist house. So.
Oh yeah. I got the evidence. I submitted my evidence, and just after that, I was on the Art Bell show, and I sent all these photographs to Art Bell, and Art Bell looks at these photographs and goes, "Wow, that's amazing, but I don't believe that orbs are ghosts." And I said, "Well, that's what's in the photos, and that's what attacked Tom Turbock, because the orb is right above his arm." And he pulls up his sleeve, and it is scratched 17 times.
Well, Tom may be one of those guys who's just sensitive and doesn't know it.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it is. I'm sure he is. So the deal is that Art Bell says, oh, what if Tom faked that? And I go, Art, no, if you look at the wound, I didn't have really a good close-up of the wound, but if you look at the wound, it never fractured the skin. These are cuts underneath the skin, underneath the dermis. And I said, he never bled. But if I had a cold compress on that, I could reduce that swelling and that inflammation. But his arm swelled up, it got red. So this was phenomenal evidence. Phenomenal. I'm sorry it happened to Tom, but it's phenomenal evidence. Now, what's really scary is I'm watching Paranormal Caught on Film, Paranormal Caught on Tape or whatever, and it's a television show on the Travel Channel, and it actually showed an orb picking up a little baby's leg and dragging the baby around its crib like it's trying to pick it up, and you'd see the leg go up of the baby and this orb just trying to pull the baby toward the side. And I said, that is excellent footage, because a baby weighs 10 pounds, 12 pounds, and this thing is able to drag it that far. Then it's got all the capability of scratching, throwing furniture, everything else. And so these little tidbits of information add up to a great deal, because then you say, well, people can be hurt, people can be, whatever. And Tom has the excuse of a lifetime. He says, let the church deal with it. And so he always passes it off to the priest, the Catholic priest, or the Jesuits, or somebody who will deal with that. But that was Tom's last show. That was his last show. He wasn't going to go on any more ghost hunts or anything, and he swore up and down, you can fire me, but I'm not going to go on any more
That's good,
shows.
Because he needs to kind of cool out. But
what got me was Glover had he had a thing in the Fox Theater. He had a investigation in the Fox because they've opened that up, and that would be a good place to go. But he had this other guy who believed in flat Earth. He was a flat Earth believer, and so Dave goes, okay. He goes, let's look for some ghosts, and then this guy whips out an ostrich feather, And Dave goes, "What are you going to do with that ostrich feather?" And the guy goes, I tickle them with it, and they get frustrated, and then they leave me alone." And I go, "You got to be kidding me! This guy's going around an ostrich feather when you know that anything that you do in the Fox Theater could be lethal to the point where you need actually a hospital to check it all out." But I've seen these scratches years and years ago. We had another guy, Jeremy Johnson, and he got bit, man, and we got that on film. And he got home and he pulls up his shirt and go, "Oh my God, man, what's all this?" And it was like scratches all over his shoulder. And he actually sent me a photo. And I was like, "Oh, amazing, man." I never have, so far so good, been attacked or had that luck. But at the same time, I've seen it, and I've seen the repercussions by people taking this nonchalantly, So, yeah.
All right. What do you have anything else coming up for, the holiday? Are you going to be doing any investigation? Are you just going to be spending time with family?
Yeah, I don't really have anything on the schedule. I've got a couple of people who want to do a live, like a live thing, like what we're doing here, just because it's Halloween, but it's not going to be like real investigation. But I think a lot of people are just afraid to get out into groups, and because of COVID, and I don't blame them. I don't. I can take a Halloween off. That's fine with me. There was. I was going to put together a few things, and have like my own little show or my own little round table, and that's still on the works. So if I can get enough people interested in that, then what we could do is have a radio round table talk, whatever. And
that'll be cool.
That'd be scary. Yeah,
it'd be scary. It's a new endeavor.
It is a new endeavor. That's true. Now, I'm not saying anything wrong about the Glover show, but
no,
I'm just saying.
I'm not saying anything wrong, but here I go.
After all those investigations we went on, and starting in around 2001, 2002, all those investigations, we came back with data. I mean, audio recordings, still photography, video, scratches, hurt, people get hurt, people's equipment dies. We came back with enough evidence to say, hey, there's a phenomenon here that should not be taken lightly. And every year, inevitably, he became the Alex Trebek, Wheel of Fortune, you know what I'm saying? He just came back as that guy who thought, nothing's going to happen to me. And man, he's just so lucky. He's just so lucky half the time. And every time I would say, okay, this is what we don't need to do, then he'd turn around and do it. He would be like, oh yeah, let's do that. That sounds cool. I said, no, we're not going to do that. No, we're going to do that. And whatever.
But he likes that. He likes the game show, like you said. But we're not going to get into that because, that's neither here nor there. But other than that, though, this is
the Lynch Mansion may still be open. You may be able to still take a tour through there.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You could take a tour, but then you're done. Yeah, that's just it's. You see what I'm saying? Like, I want to spend the night there. I want to do all the stuff.
Yeah. Right. I'm sorry. Yeah. The Lynch Mansion's best for that. There's probably a couple other places, but
I mean, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. I'm just saying that this year has just kind of been, So
I always thought the best part of the Lynch Mansion was going through the beer caves, like the underground stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Look, they built a haunted house down there, and I was more fascinated at where they would keep the beer and all that antique stuff down there than I was the haunted house.
That is virtually a medieval castle underground.
That was pretty cool.
If you walk through the entire complex underneath there, you feel like you're in a medieval European castle with no windows. And that's because when the Germans came over to build stuff, they built it exactly with what they knew, and that was these old Bavarian castles, caves, and stuff like that they actually hewn out down below. Now, that cave system is massive, and when I was there with MTV, we actually got lost half the time going through there. If we didn't have like laser pointers or something like that to find our way out, but we wouldn't be able to. I remember we went in, I did something, and Tom came in, and we were going to do something with Glover, and I forgot what it was. But anyway, we went in there with Glover, and Tom says, "Okay, I know the way out." And I said, "Okay." So I looked down at my equipment just for a second, and then I looked up, and Tom was gone. I had no flashlight, no nothing. It was like, oh my God, So I'm wandering around down there for a little while before I can find my way out. But yeah, that is an awesome place. It's an awesome place. It needs to be a bar. It needs to be a rave.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be down there without a flashlight.
Maybe some glow sticks? No? Okay.
Glow sticks.
What about underneath the Union Station? Because I know they housed Civil War bodies and stuff down there.
Right. In the powerhouse, there was another building, kind of where. You know where the powerhouse is, where 97.1 used to be? Right across the street was, in the same lot, was another one, and I forgot what that was called. But Stephen DC had their radio station there, had their show there. And that was where they kept the dead bodies, and they packed it full of ice and stuff like that.
Wait, where Stephen DC actually did their show?
Yeah. Well, it was where the Stephen DC did a show. They had a studio there in this other building, and that's it. It was called the Ice House because that's where they kept all the dead bodies. Wow. And we had psychics go through all that, and they found one or two entities still hanging around from the World War II era. I think it was World War II era. But yeah, the Union Station, man, that'd be awesome to investigate, and other things like that. But see, there again, if you don't really revel in, hey, this place is haunted, then it's kind of a bad PR to say, oh, you can stay at the Omni Hotel or whatever, and look for ghosts or whatever. But that's kind of the yin and yang of ghost investigation and businesses,
Well, thank you so very much again, Dr. Lynch, as the dogs start barking.
Sorry.
No, it's a perfect time. It's the hounds calling him back, I guess. But I want to thank everybody. Thank you again, Dr. Lynch, again. This has been great. We're going to, like I said, we're going to take clips of all your stuff and put them up there, so we'll have all the shows and just consolidate them into one big thing. So we'll have that for the Halloween season and all that good stuff. So thanks again, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dr. Lynch.